In today's video, I'll be showing you how to use soft pastels on your backgrounds, so stick around. Hello everyone, I'm Rachel from Pencil Stash, a weekly show about adult coloring, colored pencils, demonstrations, and how-tos. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, or better yet, the bell button, so that you'll be notified when I've uploaded new content. And do me a favor, if you're enjoying these videos, hit the like button after you watch them. It actually helps me get ranked by YouTube and helps me keep this video series going. And don't forget to check out pencilstash.com for my blog posts. In today's video, I have a new tool for your tool belt, soft pastels. Not only are they super fun to use, they are incredibly helpful when doing large areas of your coloring or backgrounds, anything that you really wouldn't want to use a colored pencil for, either because it's really labor intensive or it just wouldn't give you the look that you're going for. So let's head over to my desk and we'll get started. So right off the bat, and in full disclosure, I'm sitting on the floor of a closet in a hotel room in St. Louis with a bathrobe over my head just to get good audio sound because I love you guys that much. So here's a tutorial that I'm very excited to share with you all as we're going to be playing with soft pastels today. We're going to be covering a few things actually, and I'll show you the basic tools and techniques you'll need to use soft pastels, as well as a surprise tip involving our colored pencil types, so stay with me until the end. This is definitely something you'll want to practice your techniques on before you try it in a coloring page. So I've pulled some white drawing paper to demonstrate here for you, then we'll get into an actual coloring page. So here's your basic tool list. You'll need a set of soft pastels. Now these come in a wide variety of colors and quantities and price ranges, and this is a set of 12 soft pastels that you can pick up at your local art supply store or Amazon for $7 or $8, and it's a good starter set to try your hand at using these. You can always get a larger set later if you enjoy using them and want a wider variety of colors. And these are what they look like out of the box, similar to a squared off piece of chalk. And careful because they can get and will get all over your fingers and anything that you touch. You'll also need a utility knife, and you can use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter like I have here. You'll also need these little cotton pads that you can get in the makeup section of any big box store such as Target, etc. I just use the generic ones. They're $1 or $2 for a sleeve. You'll also need a spray fixative, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So just to recap, here's your tool list: soft pastels, a utility knife, cotton pads, and a spray fixative. So we're actually not going to rub the pastel directly onto the page. We're going to scrape off shavings of it onto the paper with our utility knife. So I'm right-handed, and you'll want to hold the knife in your dominant hand and the chalk in your non-dominant hand. Keeping your fingers well away from the path of the blade like I am here, use light pressure to shave off some layers of the pastel dust. It doesn't take much pressure, so don't go crazy, and make sure you always maintain control when using that utility knife. The powder will fluff onto the page, and you can control where it lands by moving your chalk hand to where you want it to go. I've shaved off a small amount here on the left and a larger amount on the right so that you can kind of see the difference once we blend it. Now we'll take our cotton pad and we'll fold it around our fingertip to have the most control, and we'll rub the pastel powder into the page in a circular motion. You can also dab, but rubbing seems to work the best. So see kind of the slight difference between the small amount on the left and the larger amount on the right after it's blended? It's really not too much difference, so I recommend that you always start with just a little bit of shavings, and you can always add more later, but in the end you might just end up kind of fluffing these off the page because they won't rub in. Now we'll take a lighter green and place some shavings adjacent and slightly overlapping our circle. And we'll do the same with a yellow pastel here on the left. Take another cotton pad and blend those together to see what kind of effects you can get by layering colors next to one another, kind of layering them adjacent and overlapping one another. You can really play with it to see what kind of effects you can get. And I strongly encourage you again to do this on scrap paper before you put it on your coloring pages. All right, now let's do it on a coloring page. And this page could be considered done, but there's a ton of white space and it may benefit from a soft pastel background to finish it off. So because the soft pastels can get into places you don't want them to, such as adjacent pages, pages underneath, etc., you want to protect your coloring book by either tearing the page that you're working on out of the book or protecting the pages underneath with a larger piece of paper or even cardboard. For our example, I'm just going to remove it, especially because this book has perforated pages. And make sure you place your page on top of a larger sheet of paper or cardboard to protect the surface that you're working on, such as my desk here. And I'm just going to use the same techniques I just showed you on this page using 2 different greens and a yellow at the end. And just to sort of foreshadow something I'm going to talk about here in a minute, I've actually colored this page with Faber-Castell oil-based colored pencils. Now you can place your shavings right over top of your colored pencil work. If you're using oil-based colored pencils, it won't really affect the color. However, it might if you're using wax-based colored pencils such as Prismacolor. But with the oil-based ones, such as Faber-Castells, the colored pencils act as a resist and won't rub into or stick to your colored pencil areas. And I'll actually demonstrate this in just a few minutes, so stick with me. So as you can see, I'm evenly distributing my 2 greens as I'll be blending them into one cohesive color at the end. But you can be very strategic with where you place and blend your shavings. Now I'll add some yellow in just a few places and blend that in as well. Reminder that if you don't want your colors to get too muddy or to blend into one another, remember to switch out your cotton pads to clean ones when you switch colors. Now that our page is done, and I'm happy with the results, here is the workable spray fixative that I mentioned earlier. This one is matte, but you can also get it in glossy. This acts as a sealant for the pastels, otherwise they would continue to rub and shift and really get all over the place. So this fixative locks all of that into place. And I believe that you can use this indoors. And this particular brand doesn't say to use it in a well-ventilated area, but I'm of the opinion that being cautious is never a bad thing, particularly when it comes to your health. And this is basically made from acetone and smells very strongly of nail polish remover. So for the health of my lungs as well as my nose, I like to do this outside or in the garage. And you don't really need much, just a light back and forth movement and maybe just 2 or 3 coats with a couple minutes of drying time in between. Follow the directions on the can of the brand that you purchase. All right, now let's chat about that white pencil trick I mentioned earlier, as this one is very important. Now, I primarily color using Prismacolor colored pencils, which are wax-based, as opposed to an oil-based pencil such as Faber-Castell. I've pulled both of those white pencils to show you what the pastels do when placed on top of each. Here on the left, I'll draw a heart with my wax-based Prismacolor, and on the right, I'll draw a heart with my oil-based Faber-Castell pencil. Now let's add some soft pastel shavings and see what happens. As you can see, the wax-based Prismacolor on the left has been tinted by the pigment. You can still see it doesn't disappear, but it takes on the color of the pastel you've added. But the oil-based Faber-Castell on the right doesn't. The white remains white, and the pastel fills in the space around it, leaving the white nice and crisp. You can use this to your advantage and actually have some fun with it. And I'm going to show you how to do just that using this quick, easy example. And I'm going to use this coloring book called Me Time by Leska Hamady that the author was kind enough to send me a copy of. The book pages are all of mandalas and even have some pages for you to create your own mandalas. But the thing I love most about this book are these two pages right here. They are design inspiration for you to embellish your own mandalas into the ones that she's laid out for you, since they are fairly simple. So you can totally customize these and put your creative stamp on them. I'll put a link to where you can find her book on Amazon in the show notes. This is the page that I've chosen to embellish, and I've pulled it out of the book once again, and I've put it on paper just to protect my desk. I've also gone in with my white pencil and kind of used the author's guidance as inspiration for some embellishment on my mandala here. You can't see it, I know, but hopefully once we put down our soft pastels, you will see it pop. So I like the idea of doing this design like a sun, and I'd also like to demonstrate that you can be strategic with where you place your colors as long as you have good control with your pastels. So I'm going to do the outer perimeter in yellow and the inner circle in orange. This is where using a clean cotton pad between colors is crucial, as I don't want to cross-contaminate in this instance. Here we go. Can you see how the white pops, particularly in the darker orange area? Now this was a simple demonstration, but you can use these tips to embellish any kind of your coloring or artwork. You can use soft pastels to do the sky, you can use soft pastels to do water. Really, the sky's the limit, and I, for one, am very excited to see what you create. Speaking of, here is some amazing featured work from our talented coloring book artists from this week. You too can share your work with me and our creative community by joining our Pencil Stash adult coloring group on Facebook, or you can @Pencil Stash or hashtag Pencil Stash Me on Instagram. If you liked this video and want to see more, hit the like and subscribe button and share with your coloring buddies on social media. You can also check out the rest of my tutorials on my YouTube channel and visit pencilstash.com to visit my blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.